Twin Silo Community Park. We're really excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us. We're going to say a few words about the park and how it came to fruition. To start us off tonight is the project manager for the park. He works for the City of Fort Collins Park Planning Department. This is Craig Kissling.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming and sharing in this event with us and just celebrating kind of the opening of the park here. Today represents a whole lot of years to get to this point. 14 years to be exact when this project started. This project started with Poudre School District back when the city kind of partnered with them to not only purchase the land but also work with them on many facets that you probably wouldn't even notice here, but there's utilities and there's infrastructure that helps feed the park for raw water, which is over here. One of the unique things that we have with this park, which we don't have with other ones, is this has a shared water source with the Poudre School District, the high school, Fossil Ridge, the park now, Zach Elementary, and Radiant Park. So it's pretty unique that we can do that and really save on resources there. Right here, we're standing on the old Webster Farm. So this all used to be farmland at one time. And the mayor can probably speak better to that since he grew up here and's been here forever. Where we're standing is not too far is where the barn for the actual farm used to be, and it's actually still located over on the PSD property over there. You can see it off the road. This park was done in several phases. The first phase, like I mentioned, was part with the school. That was phase one. The next phase is we actually moved the BMX course over here temporarily to move it out of a floodplain issue over at Adora Park. And so it stayed here for a while. And then when we did this last phase, which is what we're seeing right now, that's when we finished everything up with that as well. You know, today is since the park's complete, but it marks a beginning and not an end. And it's a beginning, you know, for future sporting events here in this part of the community. It's been this part has really been lacking in this service, so this fills our master plan for this area, having a community park. As you can see, all the kids that are excited. That's really what our job. What's so great about our job is we get to create things that the community gets to celebrate and have fun and just create memories. You know, as the grass takes root, and be patient because it's going to take a while. There's a lot of native areas that'll take some time. Things will improve as far as the looks. It just shows you how long and you know, the resources that we put in for the city. And so we hope that displays out throughout the park for you guys as you enjoy it with your friends and families. With that, I'd like to thank many people. For one, ECI, I apologize that your name got left off of the banner. That was not the intention. ECI is the contractor that did all this work that you see today. They did an outstanding job. Thanks, Lewis, Kevin, Anna, all you guys that helped on site. I really appreciate your help. You guys did a great job. I have to thank all the citizens too, because without you, we wouldn't have a lot of the input that we have for this park. So, you know, all the meetings that we had, thanks for all your support, for your input that you gave. That's part of our process. We involve you, and this is what we get. Thanks to the City Council, City Manager's Office, all their support, all the staff, the Parks Department, our Recreation Department for getting things put together. This event was put on by our recreation staff and many of our parks folks. So I thank you for that and all your hard work to get to this point. Civitas. Civitas was our lead consultant for this park. So they did a lot of this design. We had some input, but majority of what you see is their ideas that were in their head. They put it on paper, and I think they did an outstanding job conveying the theme of the park that we wanted. Create Play. Thanks so much. You guys did an outstanding job. They're over here. They did this playground, which is one of a kind. You won't see anything like this anywhere else. Many of the pieces that you see have never ever been created before. So it's a complete unique playground that you won't find anywhere else in the world, really. Once again, I want to thank our recreation department for all their help getting this put together today. I think they did an outstanding job. So maybe a round of applause for them. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to City Manager Darren Atterbury.
Craig is an amazing parks planner, an amazing designer, and he and his colleagues and Kurt and others. You guys, today's a hard day to really get out and play and see this park because it's not shining. The sun's not out and the weather's not great and there's snow on the grass. But I will tell you, when you get a chance, when this park is in full bloom, and I've seen it for years on plans, and I've now get a chance to walk around and look at it. It's an amazing place. And Craig, I just want to say how much I appreciate the way you do your work and your style and the stick-to-itiveness that you've exhibited through this process. And you've been an amazing project manager. And on behalf of this community and this organization, I just want to say thanks for your leadership. So can we give Craig another hand, please? So before I start, I want to introduce a couple of folks who are here. Mayor Troxel, you know, Bob Overbeck, who's a council member, Ross Caniff, council member, also played a role as the former chair of the Poudre School District when this land and this facility was acquired and built. So he's been on this site for a long time. Former mayor and current council member Ray Martinez. Ken Summers is here, our council member here. And our other two, and Lauren Maxey, a former council member and mayor, right, Lauren? Were you a council member? He's here. So, and we also have Parks and Recreation members here, and I just want to thank you all for that. I will say that these things don't happen without an amazing vision. And our vision is about world-class municipal services through operational excellence and a culture of innovation. And so without a big vision, these things don't happen. And I'm going to tell you, I think this park, if there's parks magazines around the country, this park is going to be on the front cover of many of those parks over the next year. Whether it's landscape architecture magazines, parks magazines, this is going to really set the standard for future parks. So for all the folks who've had this kind of vision in place for a long, long time and are helping operationalize that, I just want to say thank you so much, and it's really a privilege to be able to be the city manager in a town that has such a high bar. And I'm also looking around the place here and seeing so many neighbors around, and gosh, if someone could tell those kids just to be quiet. Parks are for peace and serenity. Just kidding. But they're all playing and having fun, and I just, what a huge, huge contribution the neighbors in this neighborhood, working with Gino Campano and our staff, Campana, to develop this kind of thing. So thank you to you as well. I will tell you, these kinds of parks, this is our 7th community park of 9. We have 2 more to build before build out of the entire city of Fort Collins. So we have 2 more, one near Horsetooth and Ziegler, and then one up near Anheuser-Busch. This is our 7th of 9. And I won't list all those, but you probably know where most of those are. And really, these parks are differentiators for Fort Collins from many, many other communities. I'm going to just also share the way these get built are through development impact fees. So the homes that you see and the businesses that you see around pay a fee that then go into building these community parks. It's a really, really important thing. So they are paying their share of these parks and these roads to build these. So that's a really important thing. And then there's also some portions of funding from general fund and other areas that fund them. But primarily these are driven by the development that many of you live in and have bought homes around. So wanted to share that. Parks are not just a place to play. You know, we've got a BMX track and ball fields and playgrounds and all kinds of stuff that Kurt will come up and talk about in a minute. But they're not just a place for play. we at the City of Fort Collins are also looking at places for innovation and places where people can really, really begin to not only sort of grow. We all remember parks when we were kids. Deb and I grew up in Sonoma County area, and we had Spring Lake Park and Howard's Park and lots of memories around. But there are places where innovation occurs as well. And I don't have time to elaborate a lot on that, but I do want to acknowledge that. And then a couple of specific things I want to say about parks. They really play a critical role in our community's well-being, in our happiness, in our joy, in our health, and just overall well-being. They're a place to connect. They're a place to connect with family and friends and others. They're a place to unplug, to get away from all the busy stuff that we do and our cell phones. And this is a cell phone-free park, but just kidding, it's not. But it should be, right? We should be here just to unplug and kind of reconnect. A place to recreate, obviously. It's a place to connect with nature as well and understand this concept of nature in the city. How do you have a city but also have nature within it? And in all cases within a 15-minute walk of everywhere in the city. It's a place to stay healthy, and that's very important to this community. And you're going to hear a little bit more about from the mayor and others. Also a place to celebrate our agricultural heritage. Fort Collins was an agricultural community. We're an agri-community, and we want to make sure that we keep that heritage and we continue to build on that in different ways than what this used to be, but we're very intentional about that. So here's my hope. Besides having all kinds of fun, my hope is that we develop in this place, in this space, lifelong memories. That when you think back 50 years from now, you remember parts about this community park and other community parks about Fort Collins. I hope that it becomes an integral part of our life story and the story of Fort Collins as well. And I hope that it feels like our backyard. That as we densify and the community gets fuller and fuller, we need to be intentional about our backyard and our backyard space. And then finally, I hope that it really helps enrichen our lives and just our happiness. And so what is a community that's not helping its residents build on its happiness? And so again, thank you all for coming here. Thank you for helping us in local government have such a big vision. That's your vision. Thank you for resourcing the city to operationalize on these visions and really for the trust that you've shown in us. So with that, I have the mayor, right? Okay, I was looking at Craig. I have the privilege to introduce to you or welcome our mayor, Wade Troxel.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you everyone for coming out, and great to see the council out here tonight and see all of you. And I just love listening to the kids because that's really what a park is all about. And, it really sounds like a successful park already. So what a wonderful day. A beautiful sunset and the geese are flying and dedicating a wonderful community park and seeing all the neighbors out today in this park. It's really, truly a wonderful thing that we get to do, being on city council. And as was pointed out, we're really building on a legacy of a lot of people and really a legacy within our own community. As I was driving here tonight, I was seeing the geese fly on a beautiful fall afternoon and thinking about the agricultural heritage that this park is really bringing out and exemplifying in a number of ways. The Webster Farm heritage, the silos that bring in the name of Twin Silos Park, and just thinking about as a kid coming out here, the fields and with the geese landing in the fields when there are cornfields and at this time of year. There are orchards in this part of town that turn of the 20th century, we had a lot of orchards, we had a lot of sheep, and that's all reflected here in one way or another. And most of the farms now are gone in this area of town, but we can actually still see the heritage in a lot of the structures and in the planning and the execution of this beautiful park. Talking about, again, more of the legacy is with our early agricultural pioneers that have really allowed Fort Collins to be a lot of the things that we celebrate today. I mentioned there used to be more sheep than there were residents, and so now you think of that and how that's changed. And I remember as a kid going on field trips from the school to sugar beet farms and all the sugar beet industry, and how that was such a big part. And how can we not think of Colorado State University and its agricultural heritage when we think of Colorado Agricultural College that was founded in 1870, with Fort Collins being incorporated in 1873. We think of the early colors of Colorado Agricultural College with alfalfa green and pumpkin orange, and that just illustrates kind of the heritage that we're building on here today. And then just having a wonderful park in a wonderful neighborhood in southeast Fort Collins and Ken Summers District, just really having this be an important part of our community. And I think some of the legacy that this leaves for our city is that, building on the agricultural heritage, is the fearless pioneering spirit that is demonstrated here, the optimism, the entrepreneurship, the hard work, the persistence in the face of adversity that clearly farmers and ranchers faced on a regular basis, and then building community by working together, which has always been a foundation that Fort Collins is built upon. And so whenever you visit the park, hope you're reminded and inspired by Fort Collins history. When I was in, I believe it was 8th grade with Wayne Sundberg, which is our local historian, and if you ever watch any of his programs, and you really begin to appreciate a lot of the heritage that we have here, I hope that you will also think about the kind of folks that the Websters and others here, the Jessups, where the Jessup farm where the silos came from. You really think of Fort Collins and its heritage that we're building upon here today. And with that, I would like to now have Kurt Friesen come up and say a few things, and we'll cut the ribbon. So thank you all for being here today. Kurt?
Thank you, Mayor. It's an exciting evening. Thank you all for coming out. Again, I'm Kurt Friesen. I'm the Park Planning and Development Director here with the city. Listening to the mayor share about Fort Collins' agricultural heritage, it made me think of my own childhood. My grandparents had a farm, and it was about an hour from our house, and my family spent quite a bit of time there. And, my brother and I have incredible memories spending time exploring all the different buildings. We would, climb the trees. We would climb all the different things that were on the park, the windmill. We'd go to the creek and catch fish. We'd kill ants in the driveway, all these sorts of things that you do at a farm. And I remember, helping my grandmother, where we would help her pick apples and cherries in the orchard. So just tremendous memories. And one of the goals of the team as we were beginning this project is, how can we bring some of those experiences, some of those farm-like experiences, to a park? Is it possible? Can we do that? And so we started off and we identified 6 experiences that we wanted to build in this park. And those are driving down a long driveway, playing in a creek, picking fruit from an orchard, planting a garden, sitting on a porch, and playing in a barn. And if you look around, you'll see all 6 of those here in this park. I'd like to speak just a bit about the triple bottom line. Many of you are familiar with that concept. Social, ecological, and economic principles that guide the work we do at the city. I just wanted to highlight a few ways which we have tried to incorporate the triple bottom line in the design of the park. The first has to do with water consumption. It's on all of our minds, right? We live in an arid climate, and as Craig mentioned earlier, almost 30% of the park is native, and that has a significant impact on how much water is used by the park. The water that is used for the park is raw water, not potable water, stored right over here in a pond. It's a shared pond between the Poudre School District and the city, and again, tremendous savings for us in terms of being ecological and wise with the use of our water consumption. And then finally, McClellan Creek. It's really one of the signature elements of the park. And instead of utilizing a more traditional water play area, which uses potable sources and creates circulation systems that you might find in a spray park, what we did is we put the play in the creek. And this is one of the cleanest sources of water we have in the city, so it made for a great environment for play. Also want to talk about repurposing. The two silos behind me came from the intersection of Timberline and Prospect, and there were 5 there originally. These 2 were taken as part of a road widening project over by that part of the city, and we decided that we could use them here and repurpose them as play environments. There also are a couple of pedestrian bridges in the park that have been repurposed. One came from a natural area and another was on site, and we were able to reuse it. It's not something we're thinking about today, but actually shade is something that's important for our playgrounds. In the heat of the summer, oftentimes our playgrounds get hot, and we've heard from citizens that there's a preference for shade. And so the barn is fun, but it also serves a purpose. The purpose is to really shelter the play environment, in the hot days of summer. And then locally grown food. I want to mention locally grown food. We have a tremendous community garden program, and it's led by the Spring Creek Gardens. I saw Michelle here earlier, but Michelle and her group lead the community garden effort. Here in Twin Silo Park, we have the largest community garden yet. It's 28 garden plots. We have a waiting list for all of our gardens throughout the city. So it's an example of demonstrating and learning more about locally grown food. You may have seen the hops trellis on the way in. Hops is a part of our culture here. We have a brewery culture in Fort Collins, and it's a place where we can learn and observe and identify how hops are grown. We also have a harvest room. It showcases vertical hydroponic garden walls, which is a really relatively new technology for growing food, something we wanted to showcase. And then finally, I want to mention the art. We have 2 art pieces in the park. One is called Harvest Sky. It's designed by artist Tim Upham. It's designed to complement the adjacent harvest room and the fruiting orchard. The sculpture of large colorful circles on top of the arbor creates a stained glass effect in the sunlight. And our second piece of art is by artist Jill McKay. She created a beautiful glowing walkway entitled Wave Walk. It sits at the threshold of the pedestrian bridge that's right here behind the silos. This may be the first public art project in the United States using photoluminescent stones, which absorb the solar rays in daytime and retransmit the light at night. So one of the benefits of having this event now is you'll be able to see those. So I'd encourage you to stick around and take a look at the photoluminescent stones here in about an hour. Last but not least, I have to say a few words about Craig. Craig, I wanted to just, again, reach out to you and say thank you. Craig was a champion from the beginning of this project, all the way at the beginning, organizing, attending meetings, providing insights on the design, coordinating with all the contractors, and then, Craig has been out here just about every day for 18 months during construction. So there isn't anyone else that has committed more time and energy and effort into the success of this project than Craig. So I just wanted to say thank you, Craig. Appreciate your attitude. Appreciated your commitment, your professionalism. This is a big project for Craig, something he hadn't really taken on before, and he did it in stride and did a great job. So thank you again. With that, I'd love to invite the City Council and the Mayor and City Manager, and we are going to officially open this park.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah.